Saturday evening at St. Mary's, the kind that leaves you feeling strangely hollow. The FA Cup, a competition Arsenal fans have long treated like familiar territory, is done for the season before spring has even properly settled in. Quarter-final stage, Southampton 2, Arsenal 1. And it was one of those matches where Arsenal had plenty of the ball, plenty of spells of control, and yet never quite turned that control into the sort of damage that decides knockout ties. What makes it sting is that none of it came out of nowhere. Southampton didn't arrive looking like a team hoping to survive. They came in on a long unbeaten run and played with the swagger side that genuinely thought Wembley was within reach. From the opening minutes, they were sharp, they were intense, and they were direct in a way that immediately tested Arsenal's concentration. Early on, Tom Fellows kept trying to turn the game into a foot race down Arsenal's left side. It was frantic, it was physical, and for a while Gabriel felt like he was doing the work of an entire emergency department, constantly stepping in, putting out fires, and making sure those breaks didn't turn into something worse. There was an early moment of controversy, too, when Southampton appealed for a penalty after Leo Cienza went down under a challenge. The referee, Sam Barrett, waved it away, and honestly it felt like the right call. Not every fall in the box needs to become a national debate. Southampton were lively, yes, but that didn't mean they were owed something every time they hit the turf. At the other end, Martin Odegaard's return immediately made Arsenal look more like themselves. You could feel the rhythm come back into the team, the angles appearing again. There was one gorgeous clip ball over the top that released Gabriel Martinelli. The kind of pass that makes you sit up because it's seen and played in an instant. But the finish didn't match the move. It was a chance that deserved a ruthless ending. And it didn't get one. Soon after, from a corner, Martinelli tried to curl one into the top corner, and it looked destined to fly in until Taylor Harwood-Bellis produced a brilliant block. It was that familiar pattern starting to form. Arsenal probing, Arsenal threatening, Arsenal doing plenty of the hard work to get near the goal, and then not landing the decisive punch. And then came the warning signs that, in hindsight, feel painfully loud. Gabriel's header accidentally put Cienza clean through on goal. For a moment it was panic stations, but a heavy touch from Cienza and sharp recovery work from Christian Mosquera helped Arsenal escape. A let-off, the type you remember later, because in cup football, you don't usually get too many of those for free. As the half went on, Arsenal started to dominate possession more clearly. Odegaard, rusty in places but still the sharpest football mind on the pitch, went close twice. One strike from a set-piece routine forced a strong save from Daniel Peretz. Another effort drifted just wide after some lovely combination play involving Martinelli. Kai Havertz tried his luck from distance as well, and a deflection sent it narrowly off target. It wasn't as if Arsenal were doing nothing. They were building. They were circling. They were nudging the game in their direction. But football has that old, brutal rule. If you switch off once, everything you've done before can become irrelevant. Southampton proved it. James Breeze surged forward, delivered a dangerous ball into the area. Ben White misjudged the flight, and Ross Stewart punished the moment. He lashed it beyond In-Kepa-ble and St. Mary's erupted. One attack, one lapse, one goal, Arsenal behind. The second half began the way these games often do when Arsenal are chasing. Lots of pressure. Lots of territory, plenty of neat touches around the box. Max Dowman came close to leveling, only for Ryan Manning to produce a heroic block. The kind defenders celebrate like goals because they know what they've just prevented. But Southampton weren't just clinging on. They nearly made it two in a way that should have set off alarm bells across the team. Fellows fired over after a messy mix-up, and then Cienza curled a superb effort that crashed against the bar. That was the moment, really, where you wanted Arsenal to stop and think. This is not a training exercise in possession. This is a knockout match, and the other team can hurt you in seconds. To Mikel Arteta's credit, he didn't just watch it drift. He turned to the bench, and the substitutions changed the texture of the game. Ricardo Calafari came on. Viktor Gyökeres came on. Noni Madueke came on. Suddenly, Arsenal weren't just patient. They had thrust. They had runners. They had a more aggressive edge in the final third. And the equalizer, when it came, was genuinely well-crafted. A proper goal. Gabriel played a threaded pass that finally split the defensive line. Havertz showed great awareness to square it rather than forcing something himself. And Gyökeres did what top forwards do. One touch, a clean finish, and a surge of belief through the whole team. 1-1 with a little over 20 minutes left. And in that moment, it felt like the script was written. Arsenal had done the hard part. Now go and win it. Except this version of Arsenal has developed an unpleasant habit, making the avoidable feel inevitable. They had chances. Dowman forced a brilliant save from Peretz. Martinelli then dragged one wide after a slick corner routine. Arsenal were pushing, the pressure was building, and you could sense Southampton starting to bend. And then came the sequence that drives supporters into that silent stare, the one where you're not even angry straight away because you're too busy processing how it happened again. Southampton went up the other end and won it. The move came down Arsenal's left. The cutback arrived into the area, and substitute Shea Charles looked completely unfazed by the occasion. Calm as you like. He rolled the ball into the bottom corner. 2-1, Wembley for Southampton. Head in hands for Arsenal. The final minutes were frantic. Lots of noise, lots of bodies thrown forward, desperate deliveries into the box. But Peretz held firm and shut the door. And with that, Arsenal's second defeat in a row was confirmed, and the FA Cup run was over. If you're looking for a simple verdict, it isn't about effort. Arsenal worked. They tried. They had spells where they controlled the game. But this was about edge, about the sharpness that decides cup ties. Southampton took the key moments. Arsenal spent too much time admiring their structure, without turning it into the sort of incision that wins knockout football. And there's another uncomfortable point that's hard to ignore. Arsenal don't look like a cup-winning side with Kepa in goal. He was a disaster, and he made some routine interventions. But the team clearly depends on David Raya in a deeper way than people like to admit. Raya sets the tone. He helps the team play higher, and his presence affects the confidence of everyone in front of him. When he's missing, it doesn't just change the goalkeeper. It changes the feel of the entire side. Now, the focus snaps immediately to Lisbon and Sporting CP in the Champions League quarterfinal. A bigger stage, a stronger opponent, and absolutely no room for an afternoon where you play pretty football but finish with a rotten ending. And let's hope Gabriel's knee is fine, because they'll need him. Because cup exits can become a habit, if you let them. And this one had all the signs of a team that forgot what knockout football is really about. It's not about elegance. It's about being clinical, being ruthless, and surviving the moments when the game turns ugly. Arsenal didn't do that here, and Southampton did.